what's up, good people? I am your host, Joe Henson.
I'm Briley.
And we are Blight Love, and we welcome y'all to the second, number 2, Deuce episode of Lame Shit Different Day. You did what I'm saying? And for those who don't know, LAME is an acronym that means living as me every day. Now, real quick, I just ask y'all to bear with me. I am a little hoarse. I'm slightly losing my voice and shit. I actually just got back in town from Atlanta today. Wanted to try to shoot this episode yesterday and the day before, but had some other things I needed to get in order, so I ain't really had a chance to do this. And we gotta do it today because this dropping tomorrow. And if you're watching this now, that means it's either Sunday or it's after Sunday. So today is June 27th. And we got another dope episode for y'all, man. Thank you for tuning in, whoever you may be, wherever you may be. You know what I mean? I hope you in peace. I hope you're in a safe space. I hope you're in a peaceful space within yourself. I hope you loving yourself and getting to know yourself better and bettering yourself. You know what I mean? I hope you're adding to the world and making the world a better place, whoever you are. So we thank you and we welcome you. How you doing?
Good.
Okay.
You?
I'm good, man. My empath shit is fucking with me right now. And I can't really say right now, but my empath shit fucking with me. But I'm good. I'll be alright, cause it's not my energy, but it's fucking with me. But I had an interesting day yesterday, man. Is there anything in your day since we went around each other for the first time in months since this corona shit, like for a whole day? Did anything stand out to you on your end?
I don't be knowing what to do with myself. I have ideas. I be having ideas like I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But then I always go back and like, do I really feel like doing that right now though? So then I have to figure out what is it in this moment that I really want to do. Mm-hmm. So that was a little tricky for me trying to figure out what exactly in this moment do I want to do right now. And then when you think about it, like time go on and it's like, dang, I ain't got that much time left in the day. Mm-hmm. What am I gonna do? Like after I done did that I already decided. So what am I in the mood to do now? So that's what I was trying to figure out.
What did you do?
Nothing, not a damn thing.
But you had to do something.
All I did, I was like, I was on my phone, and when I got off my phone, before all of that, I had to work. So I worked. When I got off, cause my mama called me while I was at work, I called her back. I went outside about 2 times with Bebop because he was being a pest. He kept being in my face about every little thing. Mm-hmm. So me and him basically talked a lot because I was constantly telling him like, it's cool, be quiet, because he wanted to bark and growl at every noise that he heard.
Yeah.
So I did that. I went out. The second time I went outside, my mama had told me that the haze, we are in the midst of some kind of dust storm. I don't know what to call it. Whatever dust plume that's coming from the Sahara Desert in Africa. She told me that you can really see it. So I had been inside, so I went outside and I looked and I was like, oh, I do see a little light brown haze out here, but I didn't stay out there long. And I ain't gonna lie, I came back inside and it felt like it was trying to mess with my allergies. Cause I was like, oh, cause I felt like a little sneeze coming and I had started to feel like maybe a sinus headache was gonna come on. So I'm like, I'm glad I came inside when I did. And I watched a little bit of TV. And then when I got tired of watching TV in the living room, I watched TV in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Switch. I turned on. I lit some candles because I didn't want no lights on. I didn't want no lights on in the house really. So I lit some candles, and I was gonna listen to my vinyl, but then I wound up talking to you for a little while, and I wound up dozing off shortly after.
Sounds like a good uneventful day.
Very uneventful. I loved every bit of it. I was gonna wash dishes, but I said no.
Oh man.
Gotta do them today though.
Man. That's always interesting when we be disconnected like that, because clearly I can't see you in that space because I don't be here. So, or wherever you might be. So it's just always interesting, like what you doing when I ain't around. Like, not on no like what you doing and shit, but just like I wonder what she's gonna wait. Like, I don't know. Being in a relationship, a lot of times it's like you compromise. You know what I mean? Like, you compromise. I know I compromise a lot. And I imagine she compromised a lot too. So I always look forward to the times when she can be by herself, so she can just not have to compromise and just do whatever she might want to do. Well, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean?
I walked around naked, but that's on the norm.
Sometimes
and I
you
was
be sharing.
I was going I was I was going I was gonna turn on YouTube and find a video like that I would like learn to dance to.
Ah, okay.
But I wanted to be lazy, so I just sat on down and chilled out. So that's what I did mainly. That was another thing I wanted to do. I was gonna mess with the guitar for a little bit. I ain't even come in this room to get it.
Man, she just left you hanging, bro.
Yeah, I just
You got a name for you? Ain't got no name for your guitar yet, do you? Probably should give your name a guitar. Give your guitar a name. What the hell? But yeah, man. I don't know. That shit just always interesting to me. For any couples out there, man, like, please drop a comment and share with us, like, what's your experiences when you and your partner go like a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, however long, something up to a day and more. Like, how is that for y'all? Like, do you learn anything about yourself? Do you learn anything about your partner? You know what I mean? Like, do you learn anything about your partner in the aspect of, like, I guess what they provide when they're around? Because I know for me, y'all heard what her version of being by herself was. Now, I don't know. I'm sure it would be a little different if she had a week like that. But I knew she was gonna do everything she just said. But I know, like, for me, I feel like I keep noise in the house. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm the noise maker. I feel like I'm the one that just causes a lot of the ruckus around the house. Like, not necessarily in a bad way, but I'm more of the I don't know. I feel like I'm the life of the party at home. You know what I'm saying? So I just was curious to see, like, what you would do.
I mean, I was still dancing around, prancing and singing and shit, like humming my own harmonies and stuff, and having a good time doing it. But but that's about it. It really wasn't. It was basically the same stuff I already do, just I guess a little bit more of it, because I didn't have to worry about if I was gonna affect your work or nothing. Like, if you was on the phone with somebody, if you was trying to edit a video or anything like that, it was just me and Bebop. I can be as loud with him if I wanted to, or with myself, or as quiet as I wanted to, without you thinking like, are you without thinking that what is like you're bothering me, because you be thinking that you be bothering me sometimes, or I be eavesdropping and I don't. But
yeah, but I be just joking about the eavesdropping.
I know.
Like, that ain't like a literal thing.
I was just chilling. I was chilling hard.
Good. It's good to chill, man. We all need to chill sometime. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I look forward to those days. Like, the day when I'm just completely by myself. Those are always dope days to me, because I feel like they're necessary. Like, it's necessary to be by yourself sometimes. You can't always have somebody else with you. You know what I mean? Like, or better yet, you shouldn't always need to have somebody else with you. You know, and of course, if you got a medical condition or something like that, definitely. But thankfully, we blessed to be in good health, so we don't necessarily have to have each other around all the time. But I was glad that I had to bust a move to the A with my homie Fred, with my homie Misho, and my homie Chris, to do the video with our homie Trey Smooth. They said Trey Smooth, T Smooth. Shout out to T Smooth, man. Smooth with the camera. Shout out to Freddie Mac. Shout out to Chauvin. Shout out to Chris Jenkins. See the vision. Shout out to my family, man. We had a dope trip, man. It's actually my first time going on a all guys trip. Cause I'm just not that nigga. I'm not that nigga. I'm not a I have to go on a bros trip type dude. I ain't really wired like that. I love feminine energy. I love females being around. I like that because it balances out a situation. Because it's certain things that women bring that men don't bring. And when you put both sides together, for me, I get more enjoyment out of whatever we're doing. Because I don't know, man. It's just I don't know, man. Women got a way of adding a woman's touch to stuff, and it just be dope to me. I don't know. I appreciate it. So I ain't never really been a dude that's just like, yeah, I want to go on a dude's trip. But the way this particularly planned out, the way it panned out, she had to work, and she would have been the only other female to come in this case. Because we go out of town and shit, and sometimes be other females that be with us, like other friends and stuff we have, depending on who going. But this particular time, the one female that would have went couldn't come because she had to work. So it just ended up being me and the homies. And it was a dope trip, man. Very much needed trip for me. I needed to get the hell out of Albany. You know what I mean? Like I knew I needed to get out of Albany, but I didn't know how bad I needed to get out of Albany.
You never really know till you get out.
Facts.
And as soon as you leave city limits and you hit that open road, it's like, oh, okay.
Facts.
It's like it's weird because it's a recharge not only for yourself, although you love being around who you be around as far as your spouse, but at the same time, even in the same, I guess, breath, I should say, going out of town is like a recharge in itself too.
Shit, yeah, them different energies. Me and Sho were talking about that. Like we were talking about how good Florida feel.
Yes. And it might be because of the water.
I think it's the water, but I don't know. Maybe it
I
is
think
just
it's
the
the
water.
diversity of the people too, though.
I don't know.
I love how diverse Florida is.
I can't explain it because I don't live in Florida and I ain't been in Florida enough or long enough for one consecutive period of time to really be able to speak on it. But I just know, me personally, since I'm sensitive energetically, I know that when I cross that Georgia-Florida Parkway shit and we're now in Florida, I feel a completely different energy.
A different lively feeling.
Like it's lighter. It's a lighter energy. Like it don't feel as heavy or thick.
I was gonna say free. It's like a more freer energy.
Yeah. Like man, that shit be crazy, man. I be talking about energy, but that's some shit that I don't fully understand. So me trying to explain it to another human is like very difficult to articulate. But man, like we got the air conditioner on now. Y'all probably hear this shit on the camera. But like the way I feel this air on my shoulder, like that's how I feel energy. Like I feel it like it's physical, but it ain't physical. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they say, you can't destroy energy. It can only be transferred. You know what I mean? So maybe when it transferred to me, it feels that way to me. I don't know. But when I cross that line though, and I find myself in Florida, I feel that energy, man. I feel all the heavy, like, the best way I can explain what Albany energy feel like to me, like what it actually feel like to me, is when it's like how it feels outside when it's really humid.
It's stuffy.
Yeah, like it's like it's almost like difficult to breathe, kind of. You know what I mean?
It's hot, sticky, stuffy.
Yeah, like it just
and uncomfortable.
Yeah, like that's what Albany energy. And I love our city, man. We born and raised here, but it's a history here. It's a mentality here. It's just a lot going on here that affect the energy here. And it's the same way in Florida, because Florida got some crazy ass rules and shit there, and laws and shit.
But I think it's like that
just
in every city. It's like that in every city. It's just we know how to describe our city because it's our city. And we like you said, born and raised here. So we know how I feel when it's stagnant like that. We know how I feel when it's a little lighter and on the up and up. Like, we know this is our home. So we can, at least in my opinion, like we can really dive into it and explain it the best we can. But that's just our perspective.
Yeah,
everybody don't feel like that.
I like Florida. Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing about life, man. It's just perspective, man. All this shit perspective. You know what I mean? Which I think is a dope segue to something that I wanted to kind of talk about in today's episode. Um, since it was just me and all the homies, we had a lot of conversation, like a lot of conversation that day we was in Atlanta. Like we talked about a lot of shit. And I wanted to talk to you about some of it. I wanted to pick your brain and see what you might think about some of it.
The
Um,
screen went off.
yeah, it do that. Remember, it did that last time. But yeah, man. We had a conversation about men and women. You know what I mean, like relationships type shit. And we were talking about, long story short, finding the one. You know what I mean, like finding the one for you, and just all the small, a lot of times overlooked variables and factors that go into the process of finding your one, right? And some of us, half of us in relationships. Well, actually, three of us are in relationships currently. Two of us aren't. So we had a chance to get kind of like both perspectives a little bit. But it was just interesting though, man. It was just a dope conversation. But like one thing that stood out to me in the conversation was expectations, communication, uh, letting go of your idea of what something should be and how something should be, and getting in alignment with like God. You know what I mean? Like, and this is my interpretation and what I left with the conversation from. You know what I mean? Well, left with from the conversation. I'm tired, y'all. I ain't got much sleep, so my brain operating a little different. But anyway, so yeah, man. It was just one of them things where it's like, for me, it was like, damn, with all the stuff we was talking about, those were all signs pointing to the expectations we have. And that's a motherfucker. Expectations is a motherfucker. And not just in a relationship, in life, expectations are a motherfucker.
Yes.
And to be really real, in my personal opinion, that's a big part of what's wrong between humans and humans. Like our interaction with each other, that's a big part of it. It's the expectations. You know what I mean? Like we don't take out the time to really see who we dealing with. We just kind of hop into some shit off of feelings or off of whatever reason we decide to hop into it, and we say, "This what I expect," to ourselves though. A lot of times we don't verbalize that to the other person. You know what I mean? And the fucked up thing about expectations is, if you don't let them be known directly and clearly to the other person or persons involved, you set up the entire relationship or team member, like partnership, whatever. You set it up for failure, because first, all it takes is miscommunication to get misunderstanding. And once misunderstanding get in the mix, and emotions from that misunderstanding, negative emotions from that misunderstanding get into the mix, it always draw a wedge between the people involved. I've never seen it not work that way. You know what I mean? And maybe there are people in the world who it don't work like that. But 9 times out of 10, when miscommunication comes, it creates misunderstanding. And that misunderstanding, a lot of times, especially if it's about something that people take to heart, that misunderstanding end up being the thing that creates the seed of dissatisfaction. Let me say that. Maybe that's the way I should word that. Like, you be good with the relationship or good with the partnership or good with whatever it is, but when you're disappointed because the expectation isn't met, and it's not communicated what the expectation was, or it's not communicated why the expectation couldn't be met, and then the understanding come in, one or both of the individuals gonna feel some kind of way. And that's all it take for shit to go in a different direction. You know what I mean? Unless the two people are both like mature enough to be able to talk it out and get an understanding after that. But a lot of times when people get on their level, they on their level. You know what I mean? So
And that's because
that shit crazy.
emotions get involved. And a lot of us don't know how to, once we receive the information, accept the information. And it's okay to feel how you feel, but you don't have to, I guess, for lack of better words, harbor it or dwell in it.
Definitely.
So, because I struggle with that personally on a personal level, and I know that. So now that I know that, I try my best to try to either remove that, well, not really remove the emotion, because like I said, like it's okay to feel it, but don't harbor or dwell in it, and just accept it. Like, well, okay, especially if you have the knowledge now, like, well, this is a fact over here that I did not see before. Although I feel how I feel and think what I think over here, this is still an actual fact. So I can't ignore it. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of us will ignore it because we don't want to recognize and accept it. And that's, like he said, that's where we have a problem when it comes to human interaction or just people acting with each other. And we gotta find a way to do better with that, y'all, cause that ain't gonna work.
What you think would be the solution with that? Like, what you think is the missing ingredient or element that, if it wasn't missing, would stop that from being an issue? As far as like expectation and shit.
Understanding where your own expectations lie.
You say where they lie?
What they are and where they lie, because a lot of times people have expectations and don't know that they have them towards other people, or for them to do what they want them to do or say what they want them to say, and we don't know that we actually have them for that person to actually do it. So when the situation pops up, of course we all huff and puff and mad because we expected them to have it. But then when the person tells their side of the situation, although you might get it and understand it, but you all mad already. So it's kind of like, but if we already knew, like once that information was given, then we should go back to ourselves and be like, well, okay, you know what I'm saying, or even if it's not okay to you, it just be like, well, we just agree to disagree on this because I can't rock with that. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. Then y'all can decide how to maneuver that as far as you guys go. And if that don't work, then that's when you have to come and just be like, well, I guess we either have to not deal with each other on this particular level anymore, or just not deal with each other at all. And that should be okay, but because we are emotionally clingy and we seek a connection so bad, because it seems like nowadays we don't connect like that. We don't connect really at all because of social media and other reasons. It's harder to find that connection because everybody putting on a facade, everybody lying either to themselves and other people. It's hard to find the truth now.
Yeah, well, it always been hard to find.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more tricky now because it's all these other variables that's playing a part that we don't even necessarily have control of. Or we do. Cause I was about to say, as far as social media goes, we don't have to be on there. Although it is out there, you know what I'm saying, but we don't have to be on there or whatever. But that ego is a major thing that's been popping up in my head lately. I'm gonna be talking about that a lot because like I said in our testes videos, like I realize I have a big ego. As small as I am, I have a big ego and don't know that I have one. Because we wind up thinking that we're bigger than what we really are, and then we lose sight of the bigger picture because we're trying to make ourselves feel and look this grand image that we would like to be looked and viewed as, but that's really not the case. And we're not the only person in this picture. Like, you have your family members who also planted and put things in you. You have your friends, you have your spouse, you have your pets, you have your associates you work with. Everything plays a part, so it's a bigger picture. God is one of the main things that we should even consider in this bigger picture because we tend to not think of that either.
God is the nigga that drew the bigger picture.
But a lot of us don't even think about God because our egos are so big.
Yeah.
So I think once we realize, like, okay, I have this and this and this characteristic, or I have this and this habit, or flaw, whatever word you want to put on it, especially things that you know you can change, but even the things that you can't change. But once you know that, okay, these are things that are within me, and this, that, and the next, then you should be able to move forward. I say should, but it does take time. Because, like I said, I'm still working on my own stuff as far as how I handle myself and how I handle and speak with and communicate and just interact with other people, including my dog, because they have feelings and emotions and characteristics and personalities too. So energies transfer, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want to always be the one throwing off bad energy, although I know I will have to play that role sometimes. But it's just, I might be rambling. Am I rambling?
No, not really. I wouldn't say so. And then if you is, it's a podcast,
Did I answer the question?
You tell me. Was them your answers?
I think I answered it. It pretty good.
But then you answered it. For me, I gotta throw humility in that list.
Yeah, that too.
Gotta throw humility in that list. Like, gotta throw humility in that list.
But that's what's acceptance, I believe, I think that falls into that too. Because at some point in the acceptance, you have to bring your ego down to some point.
Basically, everything you said is some of humility. To be really real. Because a lot of times, for you to understand something properly, a lot of times, you gotta be humble enough to say, hey, this is my way of thinking about it. And because it's me and my situation, I feel and think this way on it. But just because I feel and think this way about it and it's my situation, that don't necessarily mean I'm right. You know what I'm saying? It don't mean you wrong either, but it don't necessarily mean you're right. So humility allows you to be able to hear somebody else out and to take in some more information that's different from the information you're feeding yourself. Because one thing about social media, a lot of us are fucking authors of our own books. You know what I mean? And the only books we read are our own books. Meaning what happened in our lives or what's happening in our lives, the only stories we're listening to is our versions of the story. We not really taking into account other people's version of the story, like what their side was like. What's your point of view? And that's the thing with me, like, to me, man, like, there's nothing in the world that can't be rectified if you have understanding, love, and the desire for peace. Like, if you got them three things, you can get past anything. But
I got a question.
What's up?
Do you think?
Yep. No.
Do you think one of the issues lie because most of us don't know what the meaning of understanding is? Because we don't understand, or people don't understand the meaning of what understanding is, we get frustrated and get mad and want to throw off words like toxic and we have cancel culture, and or say I don't want to deal with you no more for whatever reason because you didn't agree with whatever that was said, that I said, or whoever said or did. And that's not really understanding. That's just you looking for somebody to back up your own belief or your own thoughts or feelings. Most of them be feelings a lot of times. And if I'm a feeling person, and I have come to realize this is my AA. I am a feelings person. Hi, Kaya. My name is Kaya. And I have an issue with letting go of my feelings when I feel really strongly of something. And I wind up not getting the understanding that I actually need to get, not only for myself, but of the other person. And I learn over and over and over and over and over again that your feelings aren't valid. Or your feelings are valid, but is it really something to be focused on right now? Or is it something that we could talk about a little later, but the bigger picture of it all although you may feel that way, that is not where we need to be looking to get a full, complete picture and understanding of what's going on. And I know that with myself, and I'm working on that. But a lot of other people, not saying that they don't work on it, but I have seen where that is an issue. And we see that now on social media a lot more. But it's easier to get co-signed through social media because you see a lot more people think like you, but that don't always mean that it's correct either. Just because you got other people saying, "Oh yeah, man, I think like that too. I think," you know what I'm saying? So,
to be really real, if you are in complete alignment and agreement with the masses, most of the time you're on the wrong side. You know what I mean? Because the truth is not the truth about life and the world and even a situation. It's not the common thing. Like, the truth is something that's hard to find, whereas lies are swirling all around us all day. You know what I mean? Like, I can tell you a bunch of lies that I factually know are lies very easily right now and just list them bitches out. But if it had to come down to me telling you like some of the big truths of the world or the universe or life or humans or me or you or whoever, it's a little more tricky. Like, the truth, if everybody knew the truth, the world would be different.
It's easier to find the lies. It's a little bit more tricky or harder to find the truth because, like, everyone knows it's always a little bit of truth in every lie.
And it's a lie in every truth.
So and if your feelings lean more towards either or, that's where it's gonna sway. And I could be wrong about that too, but my experience, that's what I've come across so far. Like, however you feel, that's where you finna lean a little bit more, unless you take the time out to think on it a little bit more and see other sides or see different perspectives or see where this could have possibly been where I messed up at or where I didn't mess up at or something, you know what I'm saying? So I think that might be something that I think that's where people probably need to work on, like an area there, because I really don't think people understand what or know what the meaning of understanding is. Because a lot of times we be like, I feel you, I understand that, and I know when I say it a lot of times, because I'm a feelings person and an emotional person, I'm talking a lot of times about the feeling of it. And sometimes I do speak on the logical, but I know, like, I feel you, I understand because I feel what other people feel emotionally, although I might not even interpret it or articulate it the best way. And sometimes I'll be wrong about that too, but I have to know that about myself to, gauge that. But yeah, I'm done now.
The definition for understanding, one is a mental grasp, comprehension. The other one is the power of comprehending. The power to make experience intelligible by applying concepts and categories. The power to make experience intelligible by applying concepts and categories. It sounded wrong at first, but I got it. I get it now. A mutual agreement not formally entered into, but in some degree binding on each side. Friendly or harmonious relationship. An agreement of opinion or feeling. Adjustment of differences. These are definitions for the noun aspect of the word understanding. That last one, an agreement of opinion or feeling, adjustment of differences, or an adjustment of differences, that's a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's where it
that
is.
Adjustment of differences, very few people adjust their own differences or how they feel about somebody else's differences in order for them to get an understanding. But you can't get an understanding till you walk in somebody's shoes. You can look at a person's shoes and say how you think they feel, but until you actually put them on, or until you can see how you're wearing those same shoes in your own life, you're never gonna really understand that person. You know what I'm saying?
But
so, like, what's up?
It's still like, it's that, which is very true. That still go down like to the ego, because people have to, with the humility, they have to bring themselves down in order to actually accept and adjust accordingly. A lot of people don't be wanting to make those changes because they don't be seeing nothing wrong with what they said or did.
Yeah.
Or whether somebody is telling them like, hey, this might not be the best thing, or someone, or vice versa, however that go. Whoever's saying it or whoever's receiving. Either one of them two could not even want to hear what's being said. They don't want to receive it. They ain't gonna want to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it ain't, and everybody ain't right all the time. So if somebody is coming to you about something, at least just hear them out.
Yeah.
You know, to some point. Now I know, like, we do get huff and puff and get defensive because we, like I said, the ego. We really do believe that we are more grand in our mind than what we really are. And I ain't saying we ain't dope people. Like, everybody is dope in their own right.
We dope, but that don't mean that you are like above
no one is
anybody.
no one is over anyone. So, but somewhere down the line, because we have to feel like I belong and have to have purpose, and that's where I think it starts from. But we don't know how to put it in the proper spot.
When you say where it starts from, what is it? Where
the ego, like part of the ego.
Okay, now repeat the sentence, because I just wanted to know what to associate the it with. So now, okay, you talking about the ego. What did you say again?
I don't remember the exact sentence.
Well, you just said the
but it was saying, I was saying, like, I guess, like, the issue, maybe not issue, but where people start having an ego, because somewhere deep down we really, like, in our spirit, we know we have to have a purpose to serve. We don't really know what that is. And, like, when we get older, we try to find it and figure it out. We cling to things that we like because we're trying to find it and figure it out. And for some people, you know, you find something you like, it boosts your self-confidence. So much so some people be arrogant. So much so some people have too big of an ego that they think they're better than other people.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of that going on.
So that's what I mean.
A lot of that going on. I think ego starts from, like, as weird as it's gonna sound, I think organized society is what creates ego. I think ego start in kindergarten. I think ego start in kindergarten or preschool.
Competition.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but that don't always start at school. If you got siblings, your ego could start at home with your siblings. You might not get attention the way you want attention. Or you might, you know what I mean? Like, so it could start in different places. It just depends, you know what I mean? But also, too...
That's a natural thing, though, now that I think about it, too.
The ego is natural.
Yeah.
You can't remove it. You shouldn't remove the ego. You should control the ego. You should know when you should tap into it. You should know when it matters, and you should know when it don't. And if you really know something, you know that your ego hardly ever really matters in the big scheme of things. You know?
I think maybe, because you're not wrong either when it comes down to how it is in the system and how stuff is maneuvered. But I also think too, though, like, at home, a lot of us didn't get taught that principle. A lot of us didn't get taught, like, so to control the ego, we don't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't even know ego. Like I said, I didn't even know I had an ego. I always thought I was a person that didn't have one, because I thought that I was humble enough within myself. Like, because I don't try to start nothing with nobody. I don't get into nothing with nobody. I'm always trying to find, like, bring the peace and this, that, and the next. So, because I think that of myself, and I know that that's what I work at doing, like, I'm just, look, I'm good, bro. I ain't trying to, my bad. I ain't know I hurt your feelings or whatever, So on and so forth, I thought that I didn't have an ego. I didn't really understand what an ego even was when I had that thought. So, you know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of us floating around here like that. A lot of us. So, I don't know, man.
But I'm glad you said that, because you actually brought me to another point that I wanted to get into, which I still ain't dove into the conversation we had. But it's cool because we still, everything we're saying is still relevant to the conversation that me and the homies had. So, one of the points that I wanted to talk to you about today and talk to the people is, all in all, these expectations and these beliefs and just all the things we have that dictate and determine our perspective and what our idea of right and wrong is. Where does it come from? Where does it come from? When you come into a relationship with a person that you do not know this person and they do not know you. Y'all might know each other's name, y'all might have known each other for years, but y'all do not know each other the way y'all think y'all know each other, because that is a lifelong thing and people constantly change. But when we come into these relationships with these expectations of what should be done, what shouldn't be done, what we feel like we deserve and what we feel like we don't deserve, where do these things come from to you? Like, where do you think? Because, okay, as a man, right, the average man's idea of sex comes from a porno. It comes from porn. The average man's idea of sex comes from porn. So when I read statistics that say 60-70% of women that was surveyed and, you know, tested in this research that they was doing on women and why women struggle with, you know, coming and having orgasms during sex and shit, when them numbers are that high, it makes sense to me, because what gets a man off from porn ain't the same thing in real life that gets a woman off. Like, some women, apparently a lot of women, don't want just bam, 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 thank you, ma'am. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want just smashing. Like, they want something more romantic. It's more like foreplay plays more of a part. When you watch porn, they get straight to it. It ain't really no love factor there. It's just literally just sex. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But if you're a man and you've grown up watching that and seeing that all your life, when it comes time for you to start actually being sexually active, all you gonna do is repeat what you watched on TV. Well, not literally TV, but in some cases TV. Showtime used to have that thing, and Cinemax. But like, you're gonna mimic what you watched.
That's just like what Sean said on that song. I saw it on tape, tried to do this shit.
Yeah,
like I apologize.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, like
straight up.
I ain't no ruler, still bruised the clear. I saw it on tape, tried to do the shit. Well, she say, like, yo, shout out to my brother in Smoke, man. Shout out to my brother Sean J and my brother Smoke. I mean, yeah, that is my brother. Shout out to Sean J and Smoke, man, for Feel My, man. Y'all, God, well, that cut me loose hard. But anyway, but like, so I don't know. So, but that's a man's perspective, right? And that's just talking about sex. But when you talk about, like, okay, where does a man's idea of how a woman is supposed to be in a relationship, where does that come from? Does this come from a open-minded state of mind, like an open-minded thought process, or does it come from a narrow thought process? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. But when I think about it, from my perspective, from what I see and what I've experienced, it's narrow. It's real narrow.
It's very narrow.
Because as a child, if somebody is talking to you about it and you know nothing about this topic or anything, you're going to soak in everything that person says, especially if it's from somebody that you trust. So you finna soak in all that little bit of information. You might misinterpret it, especially if they don't dive deeper into it.
Yeah.
And you're going to go from there.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of stuff get messed up, because you have little boys being told when they're very young, suck it up, you better not cry, and stuff like that, and then which causes men to not even want to show emotion because they get viewed as a punk, or they get viewed as, so, and then with women, we can't be too outspoken, because if we're too outspoken, we a bitch, or we get viewed a certain kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So, or if you're too quiet, even because it's weird. Because for some women, even if you're too quiet, you either viewed as sneaky, or you viewed as too submissive, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it can. But I think it's narrow. Nobody really goes into nothing that I've experienced when it comes to talking to I say from a child, like talking to a child, when you're actually trying to learn these things or supposed to be really soaking some of this stuff up in adolescent years and stuff, like nobody really, from what I've gathered, really sit down and try to give you as much of a bigger picture as possible. They really go into it like, this is my experience, this is what I dealt with. I can tell, and I try my best to do that. Like, I can tell you my experience, but I always be like, but I don't know everything. Like, I don't know what you might encounter when you deal with this. I used to tell that for people, like, when I was in college, I didn't finish college. And my experience at that school wasn't the best. But for somebody else, they'd be like, oh, that was my best years. It ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it to be like that for me, but that was not where I was supposed to be. So I tell people my experience, and I'm like, you might not get that off rip. You might not get that. You are completely different. So I try to leave some room, but for other people who try to do that, no, what you need to do is this. Nothing else. They'll give you nothing else. You need this right here.
But see, my thing, me personally, when I give advice, and it's crazy because me and my homie just had a conversation about something very similar to this. But like, I don't tell niggas what you need to do. Like, because I don't know what you need to do. All I can do is you use the information you've given me and the information I've gathered. And from the information you've given me and that I've gathered, I can tell you what I would suggest trying. You know what I'm saying?
What I would do.
But that's how I do it. Like, and it's weird because some niggas look at that like you all about you, but it's like, no, not at all, bro. Like, at the end of the day, I'm telling you what I would do if I were you. Not because it's all about me, but because I'm not no asshole that's gonna give you advice that I wouldn't do. Like, if I was in your situation, this is what I would do. Not saying that it's the best thing or the only right thing, but if I'm gonna give you advice, how else can I give you advice other than giving it to you the way I would want it? That's the way I feel like you're supposed to.
A lot of times when my friends ask for advice, I leave like one of the last statements I have, unless I'm for real about what I'm saying, and just be real strong, feel strongly about it. I'm gonna say, and even then, I still leave and just be like, it's up to you though. Like, I'm just giving you what I would do, and this could be a possible outcome for you, or suggestion, or way, or outlet, whatever word that fit there. This could be something that you could utilize, and you don't have to do everything in what I said. Take what you can. Take from it what you can, and make it your own. Do what you gotta do to make it work for you.
But the thing is, though, is like, advice should always be taken with a grain of salt. But at the same time, too, you gotta be wise enough and conscious enough and aware enough to know, like, God communicates to us through other people. That is a big way God communicate with us. God got other ways God communicate with us too, but definitely through other humans. God will send somebody to you to say some shit that you need to hear as soon as you need to hear it. You know what I mean?
My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, you go.
I'll say this. Example. In the last episode, we spoke on how we got together, how we came to know each other, became friends. I had mentioned about how I reached out to him for advice on how he keep his faith. Now, mind you, later on down the line, he expressed the interest. So I was scared to take him up on that offer, but something kept telling me when he asked me one time to not on the offer, but to come kick it. So you asked me one time to come chill, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come. A few days passed by, he asked again, and even the first time he asked, I felt God being like, go on over there now. Real subtle. I'm like, nah, I'ma chill. I ain't trying to look too desperate or nothing and just be popping up. Although he did ask, but just being stupid, your ego, I guess. Second time he asked, he let it be known like, I don't ask too many more times other than 3 times now. You gonna come or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come, blah, 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 blah. after that conversation, I'm in my head now, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, I really need to fall back some still because I was scarred, mind you, from past situations. But I still felt God. It was like a weird sensation. It was like a little tingling. I got a little chill, and I was warm at the same time. In the process, when I read the text when you said it, and after our conversation, I thought about it again, and I took it upon myself to just be like, that's God telling me, all right now, like, cause like we said, we prayed for each other, so it's like, all right now. I was scared, and I was just like, you know what? I don't have this feeling for no reason. So let me step out. Stepped out, now we've been together for 6 years. You know what I'm saying? So the when God be talking to you, you do have to be open enough to receive and accept it. And sometimes you may not even know, but you that's when you have to kind of learn yourself, I guess. Learn how God talked to you, in what ways and when do you normally feel and recognize God, or do you even seek God in the first place? So since I know I had been praying and I know I wanted an answer, I felt like that was something, because I feel that as I'm talking, how I explained how I felt then, I feel that right now. The warm and the coolness, you know what I'm saying? So it's like he said, I feel like God has told me to say this to share for a reason. So just pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to how your interactions are, or I mean your how your body react, and or just really, you don't know how God talked to you. I say God talked to me in dreams. I don't have him as much as I used to, but I say he talked to me in dreams. He might talk to you in another way, or however you refer to God.
So do you feel like that's exclusively how God talked to you?
It's no. I think, what you mean by exclusively?
Like, that's the only way, because that's the only thing you said.
No, that's all. That's just the only way that I know as of right now. Like, I think God talked to me through people. Like, it's like what we were saying when we had a conversation a few weeks ago, and I started crying because I was like, I'm just thankful, because I literally had been asking this, and I know I had just said it today. Like, so God talked to me through people, but I'm now just accepting that information. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that now. But I already accepted God talking to me through dreams, and, you know, and just certain physical feelings that I would get when I'm scared to move on something. But that's it. I feel like I was long-winded.
But it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. It's important to know where shit come from. You know what I mean? Like, could we go in a relationship? First of all, I've learned that we go into relationships and partnerships and shit completely fucked up mentally. Like, we don't think about things. We don't think things all the way through. We see bits and pieces that we want, bits and pieces that we like, bits and pieces we think we can control, and we shoot out the door off of that. But we don't think about all the shit that come with shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, to touch back on like expectations. To have an expectation of somebody to do something that they're not obligated to do and ain't under contract to do, that is an appetite for destruction. That's a menu for destruction, and you got an appetite for destruction, because it leads to disappointment. You're gonna always be disappointed when you got all these expectations of what somebody should do. And I'm just like a regular human, got expectations. But the thing is, we gotta know when we go too far with our expectations. Like, okay, I expect this, but am I right for expecting this? Like, and I mean like really right. Fuck how you feel. Are you, when you really sit down and logically break it down in your mind, are you actually right to expect somebody to know something that you never said? Are you actually right to expect somebody to be something that they aren't? That's not you. Because that's part of what we was talking about too. Like, when it comes to finding the one, like, a lot of times you don't find the one because you're trying to make people that's not the one be the one. And you want to get somebody that's temporary and make them somebody permanent. You want to get somebody that's not a freak and you want them to just drastically be a freak. And it's like, if you're in it for the right reasons, they don't have to be a freak for you to be in a relationship with them. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, like, some people like more, freaky sex, or people like people who communicate more, or people like people who do this and do that and do that. We all have preferences, but can you love beyond your preferences? Because if you can't love a person beyond your preferences, you're not built for love. Because God didn't make her to be what I prefer. God didn't make her to be what I want her to be. She is who the fuck she is. And all I gotta do is appreciate that, respect that, and help her figure out, I want to say figure out, but help her improve that. Because I contribute to her growth, she contribute to mine. If I'm with her, I have to positively contribute to her growth. You know what I mean? One way or another, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So it's like, at the end of the day, we kind of start things off on the wrong foot when we go into it like, well, shit, I need you to be this, I want you to be this, I want you to be this. And some expectations are fair. Being treated with respect is a fair expectation. So please, whoever watching this, don't be a purse thief. Don't take this and run with it in the wrong direction. Don't take this and run with it and go somewhere else with it. Hear me out. All in all, you gotta see who somebody is. And if they don't align with what you need, in my opinion, then maybe that might be something y'all don't, you know what I mean? Y'all might not be for each other. But a lot of times we write people off and deem people as bad because they're not what we want them to be. But we don't ever factor in, God didn't make them to be that way. And we gotta factor in how people wire. And this was another conversation we had on the way back. We had a conversation about where was it? We had a conversation about, can you do anything? Can you be good at anything? You know what I'm saying? And we had a conversation because we was talking about something else, and I had kind of brought up the point that, like, people are wired how they wired. So to expect somebody to be this way when God didn't wire them that way, not only is it unfair to that person, but you also don't give you and that person's relationship a fair chance. Whether it's a real relationship or a friendship or a partnership or whatever, you don't give the relationship a fair chance or that person when you go into it thinking like you're supposed to be good at this. Like, for instance, a woman supposed to cook. But it's just, I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, man. God don't make everybody to be able to do anything. Like, God wired us to do certain things better than others. If a person is not, everybody's not good at public speaking. Everybody not wired for that. Everybody can't stand up in front of 3,000 people and talk and be comfortable and get their point across and articulate themselves the same way they could if it was just one person or two people or 5 people. Everybody ain't wired for that. And no matter how many public speaking classes you take, you're never gonna be great at that because that ain't how God wired you. You know what I mean? And that's just a reality of life to me. So when I think about that, not saying that you can't get better at anything, because you can get better at anything, but I'm talking about great. I'm talking about being really good at something. I'm talking about being good at something to an extent that it's a strength. Because if anything can be a strength, wouldn't that ultimately mean you have no weaknesses? I mean, of course you're going to have weaknesses, but if anything can be a strength, then that means everything that's a weakness is something you chose to be weak in. But that ain't how it goes. Nobody sits down and say, hey, I don't want to be able to talk to 3,000 people. I don't want to be able, nobody's doing that. What happens is you fuck around and got to talk to 70 people in a room and you like, oh shit, like my body doing crazy shit. I don't know about this, hold the fuck up. And then you try to get through it, and you do get through it, but you sweating like a motherfucker, you stuttering over words that you normally wouldn't stutter over because you nervous as fuck, and you can't get unnervous because guess what? You're not good at public speaking. You weren't wired by God to be in public speaking. You're probably a behind the scene person. You're probably like a doctor or a nurse or somebody that deal with people more one-on-one. You're not, you know what I mean? Like, everybody just can't do everything. Like, that's just an understood to me.
If we could play every role and play them correctly, we wouldn't need each other.
That's why I love her. That's why I love her. Facts. Exactly.
So
The reason why you need somebody that's good at public speaking, and then you need somebody that's good at management, and then you need somebody who has like good social skills when it comes to like networking, because these three people could get together and form a business. You got the public speaker.
By yourself.
You exactly, like, you just can't, man. Like, some people can goddamn do hair, and some people can just do nails and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
and to be honest, if we only got two hands, man, for a reason. Like, think if we had all these arms and stuff, man. Come on, man.
So I don't know. To me, that's very closely related to the expectations thing, because when we have these expectations of people, we're not factoring in what they're good at. We're not factoring in how God made them. And another thing, man, and this not like none of what we're saying in this episode is about like man-woman relationship or woman-to-woman. Like, this ain't about romantic love relationships. This is any kind of relationship. This is your family. This is your friends. These your you know what I mean, your associates at work, whatever. Any relationship, this should apply to it. At the end of the day, man, you can't expect somebody to be something or do something when you haven't even considered how God made them. You know what I mean? Like, she could like light-skinned niggas. Clearly, I ain't light-skinned. What good would it do for her to be mad at me and upset with me and resent me and be bitter and talk shit about me being dark-skinned in hopes that someday I just wake up a light-skinned? I'm not light-skinned. I'm dark. You either gonna accept me as I am or you're not gonna accept me. If I like tall women, like, she's fucking 5'5". How can I?
I'm not getting no taller.
She's 5'5". How can I expect like you know what I mean? Like, how could I expect her to just all of a sudden grow like and be a taller woman? Or if I like thicker women, like everybody like thick ass women now. Okay, if that was my preference, how could I hold it against her that she's not thick when damn, she might be one of them people who got a high metabolism and can't put on weight like that. You know what I mean? She might be one of them people who don't like what that looks like, or at least don't want that for herself. So how can I really, if I love her, if I care about her, if I'm being genuine in our exchange and getting to know each other, how can I hold her to a standard that's impossible for her to meet only because I have a need that needs to be met? Because that's what expectation come from now. I hope y'all know that. Expectation come from you having a need that you feel like needs to be met. And what happens is you put that need and the responsibility of providing that need on somebody else.
Or want. A lot of times it be a want for some people.
That's true. That's a good differentiation. That matters. So like what's your desires? We're just gonna say desires to just sum up all of it. You know what I mean? But it's like, what if I'm that type of dude and I'm just like, I need a woman that can cook. And then I find out Kaya don't cook like that. She can't cook really. You know what I mean? Am I gonna throw the person away because she don't do one thing that I would like her to be able to do? Am I gonna create pressure in the relationship and tell her she gotta be a fucking chef when that just might not be a skill that she have? You know what I mean? So like a lot of times in relationships, man, like we gotta really know like who we're dealing with, and you gotta accept who you dealing with. But the only way you can accept the person for who they are is if you get rid of the image of who you think they should be. You gotta remove that. Both of those images of that person cannot live in your mind at the same time.
And think about
like, not for real.
Like, to go back to the cooking example, like what if he or she actually knows how to cook? You just don't necessarily like how they cook. You know what I'm saying? They might be a chef and you just don't like the flavors they like to put together. You know what I'm saying? So because you have that expectation of like, man, this person can't cook, and that you see them cooking in there, but if it ain't to your liking, don't be mad. Like, just appreciate, like, well, I do like that they cook or whatever, but maybe sometimes try this. I like this a little bit, and maybe they can do it. Maybe they can't. But if that is a hang up, it's cool. It's cool.
We just gotta stop throwing away the whole person over small shit. Like, and I don't mean small in the sense of like big small things. I mean like really small petty things. You know what I mean? Like you can't just completely throw a person away because they don't make the amount of money you would like them to make, or because they had sex with 12 people instead of 8 people, or because like some random shit, like, and something that's weird to me from a female perspective when it comes to this, women who are very adamant about a man's dick size, that is very weird to me, because ain't no woman can tell you when a dick go in her, this is 10.5 inches. I know it, don't need to measure it. I know this is 10.5 inches. I know this is 8 3/4. You know what I mean? Like, I know this is 8 3/4. I know that, like, you don't know that. All you can really say is what feels good to you. But you have women that have expectations, especially the more direct, straightforward, like kind of brash women. They'll tell you straight up, if your dick ain't this big, don't fuck with me. But it's like, but how? I just don't know. Like, you don't really know. Like, and he can't change that. That's like, he can't make his shit no. Like, I mean, if he can, but why should he have to have surgery to do that? And that ain't gonna be good for him anyway.
And be a possibility that you still won't want him or like him.
So it's just, I don't know, like. Or better yet, like women who like short dudes, like, I mean, who don't want a short dude. And I understand having a preference. Ain't nothing wrong with having a preference. But understand now, what we're actually talking about right now is finding your one. And the things that come in between that. And how we come in between that, to be all the way specific. So if you're focused on finding your one, that one person that you know, like, okay, God made this person for me. This is the person that I can be my full self with and my happiest, best self with, as well as my worst self with. And I know this person gonna be there, they're gonna hold me down, they're gonna love me, and they're gonna accept me. That's what we talking about. Why does it really matter? Are you really willing to pass that up because a dude is 5'6"? That's a question I think people gotta ask themselves. Am I willing? Because ultimately now, if you listen to this and you watching this and you still watching this, you're invested in the topic we talking about. You want love. You want friendship. You want camaraderie. You want, you know what I mean, a tribe. So are you willing to sacrifice what you actually want, like on a bigger scale, the one? Are you willing to sacrifice that just because somebody is 5'4"? Or just because somebody dark skin, light skin, work at this place, work at that place, ain't working at all? Like, they check all the other boxes, but that is a problem. Or they check 80% of the boxes, but 20% they don't.
Oh, you pulled the numbers out of my head, because I was about to say, who was that said?
Cat Williams.
Okay.
I'm in there. I'm in your brain.
Because I just been waiting to say it, but I didn't want to cut you off because everything you saying need to be said. So I was just.
I'm in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm in there. So, like, that's just something to think about. You know what I mean? Like, Kaya ain't perfect to me. I'm not perfect to her. Like, she's not 100% what I want, and I'm not 100% what she want. But, hell, we probably more than 80. But regardless of whether we 80 or up or not, we are enough for each other, and we understand who each other are, like, on so many other levels, other than just physical shit. We understand what we have in each other to the point that we're not finna sacrifice the one for us because of some random ass thing that we were programmed to want in the first place. Because the thing is, your expectations are usually programmed. They're usually programmed by what you're used to. You got people out here who don't like to talk to somebody if they won't sit up and argue with them all night. For real. Like if they're with somebody who they'll try to talk out an issue, but they not finna just scream and fuss and do that shit all night. You got certain people who feel like you don't love me and care about me if you don't do that.
Yeah, because you don't take out the time to do
Yeah.
what honestly you don't care for, and you don't have the energy or don't want to put the energy into it.
And that's crazy when you think about it.
I would call that a little selfish too.
All of this that we talking about is selfish.
So
Everything
like,
we talking about is selfish.
You can't expect someone to just give everything that you want or that you feel like you want and need, and you're not even trying to reciprocate. You know what I'm saying? Or even trying to understand to even try to give a little bit of it. Do you know if you can give it or not?
Exactly. Because how can you ask for something you can't give? You know, and I had a woman tell me that before. I had a woman tell me to my face, like, I can't treat you how I want to be treated. But the things that I want from you, it's fair for me to want those things, even though I can't give you those things. And in my brain, I'm scratching my head, like in my brain. I'm scratching my literal brain with my fucking mind finger in my head, trying to figure out how the fuck that worked. You know what I mean? Because I just couldn't understand that. And I still don't understand that.
There's a lot that you will find out with yourself that, because I'm discovering this with myself, there's a lot that you will find out with yourself that you realize when you verbally say it or when you sit down and take the time out to think about it. Emotionally, it makes sense. Logically, it don't. Or vice versa. But you gotta know and understand, like, okay, this ain't right. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to make the decision if you want to change that or not. If you don't want to change that, don't be mad when certain stuff be happening to you and you don't understand, or if certain things don't happen and you don't understand why they're not happening. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to figure that out. Like, I think I mentioned on one of the shows, we was looking up pictures or something, and I was like, I just don't understand how people could kill somebody and then they are okay, like, after the fact to touch the body. Like, to me, psychologically and morally and spiritually, emotionally, that should not occur. But when that happens, they're already in a messed up mentality most of the time, so they're not going to even think. And I say messed up for lack of better words, because I don't know these people, I don't know any of their whatever, but they're already in a mindset where for them it's okay to even do that. But for me, I couldn't understand that, and I had to understand why I didn't understand it. You know what I'm saying? And I might have used the wrong example for that now that I think about it. But
I don't think it's the wrong example.
But the point is, you have to go back in yourself and see, like, okay, is this even a valid thought, feeling, emotion? Is this even right? Is it right or wrong for you? Or is it right or wrong morally? You know what I'm saying? Like, where does it sit with you? For her, who he was just talking about, she was perfectly fine with that. She had already thought about it, knew it. I'm good with that. I don't care if it makes sense or not. You know what I'm saying? And
because she didn't think about the other side of it.
And a lot of people don't. But for the ones that do want to know and care about the other side, you are going to have to do that. That's something you're going to have to sit down and do, because that's a part of understanding. That's understanding yourself and where you sit with something, and that's understanding the other persons that are involved.
Facts.
Because I could have had an argument with him about something that we ain't really had nothing to do with. Like, we don't have nothing to do with that situation, but it was a topic we was on. I could have been fire hot, mad, pissed off, because I knew what I felt, and I felt very strongly about it. And although he understood what I felt with what I was saying, as far as the people touching the bodies and shit, although he understood what I was saying and knew exactly where I was coming from, he also knew and understood logically, which I did too, but I didn't want to accept the logic. He was just like, you have to, that's just what it is, Kaya. And I knew that, but I had to bring myself back to be like, that's just what it is.
I get into so much shit from being that guy. Like, I get into so much shit for just being the guy who can see other sides of shit. And it's like, it used to bother me, it's a little irritating a little bit now, but it don't bother me nowhere near how it used to, because I realize like I'm just blessed to learn to look at other sides. Like everybody don't think like that, but I feel like if you are the type of person that considers multiple sides to something and can do this objectively without being biased to yourself and without projecting your own shit onto other people, if you can just step back and look at a situation and yourself and just look at the different sides and how, okay, you might be right in this side, but you're wrong over here, and you're justified right here, but you flaw right here, and you miss this over here. Like, if you can just look at this shit without being so biased about it, and without trying to protect yourself, you can get the truth. Because at the end of the day, when you find yourself in a debate or in a conversation and you're talking to somebody and it gets like a little heavy or deeper, the real shit is, what do you talk for? Are you talking to express yourself? Are you talking to get what you want by demanding it or fussing to get it? Or are you talking to seek the truth and gain an understanding? What are the reasons that you're even in that conversation? What are the reasons you're in that debate? What are the reasons when you and your partner ain't seeing eye to eye? Who are you fighting for? Are you fighting for yourself in that argument? Or are you fighting to gain an understanding of the truth of the matter? You got two types of people. You got one person who gonna fight for theyself, and they will fuck their whole relationship up to fight for theyself. But then you got the other people, the people that I personally think is doing the shit right, which is why I try my best every day to be one of these people. You have the people who fight to gain an understanding so they can better understand the truth of the matter. And that matters. That shit matter, man. That shit matter.
Recently learned that I was one of the number one people. I fight and I talk
That shit matter.
for myself a lot of times because I've always thought and felt like I had to because nobody else was for me. I've done it so much to the point where it's so habitual that it has caused major issues. And even in the past, I didn't even realize I was hurting my relationships in the past because I had this about myself. So now that I know that, I try to break that habit. Well, I ain't gonna say try. I am breaking that habit and working towards getting the understanding not only for myself, but from the other person. So even if we don't see eye to eye, I have to come to myself and sit down and just be like, okay, what is it that I can do to better make this situation move forward? Or what can we do to find common ground? Or is this something that, you know what I'm saying, like you have to figure that out. And mind you now, all these things we're talking about, at least in my opinion and for what I'm gathering, it's a thin line between all this stuff. It's a very thin line. You can go either too far to the right or too far to the left. And I did the wrong side. But it's a thin line. So that's when discernment comes in. And I ain't the best with discernment, but I'm going to get there. But at the same time, with discernment, you have to be okay with your mistakes.
Facts.
And a lot of us don't like to admit that we make mistakes. And but everybody makes them.
And that, again, ties into something we talked about. Like, that's why I wanted to kind of reference some of the stuff we talked about, because we talked about a lot of shit. Say what you going to say?
I'm sorry.
You hear me?
You know, I have to pass this energy. Also, too, forgive. So you can accept this information, but since there is hardly any conversation that you're going to have where somebody's going to have some kind of emotion, whether it's you or the other person. But if they hurt your feelings or if something was said that just wasn't favorable or anything, either you have, or if you made the mistake and done it yourself, you have to forgive yourself and you have to forgive the other person. You know what I'm saying? Because if you keep harboring all of that, you ain't gonna ever like gain an understanding on nothing, because like what we said earlier, you're dwelling in it.
Yeah.
You're dwelling in it.
You just gotta realize at the end of the day, man, the world bigger than you. The world is bigger than you. It is bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to try to minimize your life or to try to minimize your struggles or the things that challenge you and trigger you. I can't minimize that. I can't tell you how big it is. But I know for everybody, we all got a big ass boulder that we wrestle with. You know what I mean? Your boulder might be a past experience. Your boulder might be the relationship between you and your parents. It could be an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend. It could be an insecurity you have. It could be a secret. Whatever the fuck it is, everybody got something, a big ass monkey or something on their back that they gotta wrestle with and carry around every day, one way or another. We all got something we struggle with. I don't give a fuck. You can find the best person you know, the person you look up to the most. I guarantee you they got something, at least one thing that they struggle with that they need help because they don't know how to fuck to not struggle with it. They don't know what to do about it.
You can hear it all throughout the Bible. I know everybody don't fuck with the Bible or whatever religious piece of writing. You can see that there are certain characters that struggle with something. It's always something. Even Jesus struggled. He had to go and pray and just be like, God, why I gotta go through this? Why I gotta deal with this? You know what I'm saying? So everybody has something that they have to carry. They have to try to figure out how to find the problem. And we all don't find the problems. We don't find the problem. I mean, the solution to every problem. But I was right too. We might not always find the problem either.
Most of us don't find the problem as soon as we need to.
But we you gotta try. Mm-hmm. You gotta try.
Mm-hmm. But the only reason we don't find it as soon, and the only reason I say soon as we need to, because to be really real, I don't know. I'm really like about the whole mistake shit because I'm really not sure what is a mistake. You know what I mean? And I say that because what's a mistake to us is well planned for God. So are we really making mistakes? Or are we making happy accidents? You know what I'm saying? Are we really making mistakes or are we tripping onto our path? You know what I mean? Like, are you tripping and stumbling into your path? Because you might think, oh, I'm tripping and stumbling and getting off track. But in actuality, you might be tripping and falling right in alignment to your path, which is another thing we talked about. Man, we talk about so much shit, man. Oh my God. Like, I told my homie, bro, have you ever thought about or considered the fact that just because something doesn't end good, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not right? Sometimes the most right thing you can do is still gonna end badly because right or wrong ain't based off of good and bad 100% of the time. They don't always look like you think they look. Sometimes, and God is great at this because God is the greatest thing in existence, God uses stuff like death to serve a good purpose. God used shit like sickness to serve a good purpose. God used shit like hurt and pain to serve a good purpose. And if you didn't have this hurt, if you didn't battle with this cancer, if you didn't battle with this or battle with that, it's just like the dude who had the thorn in his foot. You know what I'm saying? Like, so God will give you a thorn because sometimes you need that thorn. Well, not in your foot, but in his side, but the thorn. Sometimes you need a thorn to kind of keep you controlled because the thorn represents, in some sense, a limitation. It's like a boundary, like, hey, don't do too much because if you do too much, this is gonna have a bad effect on you. When you got that thorn in you, you got to be careful how you move because if you ain't careful, you'll fuck around and bump that thorn and that thorn gonna go deeper and it's gonna hurt more. But if you remove the thorn, you won't have that pain to remind you not to just go crazy and do whatever the fuck you want to do. So we need these things that seem like they're bad for us in order to keep us in check because we got egos like a motherfucker.
Those I think are like,
you know what I mean?
Like what you said, God had to put up these
and
walls these boundaries or whatever. But to use an example of that, people have kids or pets. We safeguard the house. Don't touch this. We put things in the socket so the kids won't be sticking stuff in and messing with it. We put up gates and stuff so kids and dogs won't go in certain areas. Like, okay, we know if you go over here, you finna mess up something, you gonna break something, you gonna cut yourself, you gonna do something you ain't got no business doing. So God have to do these type things to be like, all right, like people use when doors when it comes to God closed these doors or whatever, or God opened these doors. He have to do that. Sometimes you have to go through things in your life that you feel like is a mistake or an error, but you had to go through that process to get to the point that God wants you, because you had to learn them lessons. If you went too far over there, you was gonna mess yourself up more.
Facts.
So God know that. God know his children. So he has to do these things to make sure, let me steer you. Now if you keep doing it, all right, then you got it. Now you have to go through all these other processes till you come back. You know what I'm saying? But you chose to knock that wall down, bro. I tried to stop you. Mm-hmm. So you have to. It's a thin line, man. It's a thin line. Mm-hmm. It's a thin line.
But it's just one of the things, man, where you just gotta get over yourself, man. That's the key to life, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. It's a lot of keys. Don't get me wrong, man. It's a lot of keys to this life shit. But one major life key, get over yourself. You gotta, we have to, the only way you can really get to know God is to get over yourself. The only way you can find your one is to get over yourself. When you get over yourself, you can walk into the path God made for you. Whatever you're supposed to do, once you get over yourself, and when I say get over yourself, I mean, stop thinking that it's all about you. Stop thinking, you know what I mean? Like, realizing that it's not all about you. Realizing that the best thing you could do is trust God rather than trying to just make everything you want happen. You just, because what God knows us better than we know ourselves. So if we can follow God and realize that it ain't about us and get over ourselves, we can walk into what God got for us. You don't find your partner, your one, you don't find that until you get over yourself. When you get over yourself and start actually learning a healthy way to pour yourself into someone else and make it less about you but more about them or more about y'all as a unit, when you get to that point mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you find your one. I firmly believe that. I firmly, wholeheartedly believe that. And I would love if somebody could drop down in the comments how that's not the case, and we can talk about it and figure it out, and maybe you can enlighten me, or maybe I can help connect a dot you might not seen. Who knows? But I'm damn sure willing to talk it out and figure it out, because this, I don't know, that's interesting to me, because we want so much out of life, but we don't realize how much we get in our own way. But the real reason we get in our way is because we can't get over ourselves. We think it's about us way more than it is. It really ain't about us. Nothing really is about you or me specifically. The only thing I can say that's about me or you is the control we have over ourselves. If I control myself, that's me handling what I can control. I can't control nothing but me. But when I get over myself, humble myself, and realize where I sit in this big scheme of things, and realize that ultimately, bro, I was born here to be a servant. I was born here to be a servant. I was born here to provide a service to the world. I was born here to help people, be charitable. I was born here to give love more than I was born to receive love. Because it's important that we keep the flow of love going, because God created us to love each other. God ain't necessarily create us to get everything we wanted, but God did create us to give love to the world around us, including the planet we living on, by getting over ourselves and realizing it's bigger than me, dog. What she got going on is just as important as what I got going on. How I feel is just as important as how she feels. Whether or not I'm right or she's wrong, we can talk about that. But what she got going on still matter, and what I got going on still matter. And even if I was right, or better yet, even if she was right, she still got to be willing to understand why and how I got it wrong, and love me despite the fact that I got it wrong in that argument or in that situation. But like she was saying, forgiveness is important, because if you can't do that, you never learn how to forgive a person for making their mistake. And if you can't forgive a person for making their mistake, why should God forgive you for the million more mistakes you gonna make?
And that you already made.
Facts. So like we just gotta, I don't know, man, we gotta just realize, man, this shit bigger than what we think, y'all. Like, and like I told my homie, man, life is a rainbow, dog. Like, and I don't mean that on no gay shit, but shout out to all the folks on gay shit. Ain't nothing wrong with being on some gay shit. Continue with the gay shit. I love y'all, man. Y'all got love for yourselves and for the people around you. I'm in support for it. I don't give a fuck if it's 2 women, 2 dudes, transgender. None of that shit matter to me. All that matter to me is love, man. Treat people right. It don't matter what their sexual preference is. Treat people right. So I just say that though to, you know, just be funny as far as rainbow shit. But life really is a rainbow, and I say that because we look at it like it's black and white. But there's so many shades and layers to this life shit, man. This shit can't be black and white. Life is simple, but it ain't black and white.
Think about
this shit layered.
Life would be boring if everything was in black and white.
All the time.
What purpose really would we be living for if everything was just so? I mean, life is simple, like he said, but if it was that simple, why are we here? What are we experiencing? Like, because even it's a lot of colors in nature and stuff too. Like,
but that yin and yang, black and white.
Yeah, that's how you show there are opposites. There's 2 sides to everything, but even in those sides, you still have a little bit
of
that,
each side.
It's a thin line.
Yep.
But if my homie Junior ain't never said nothing to me that stuck with me, it ain't about you. Now I thought about this yesterday. Shout out to Junior once again, love you, bro. But I thought about this yesterday. I don't remember what made me have this thought, but I thought about this as far as egos and stuff go. Like, for some, it might be hard to even imagine, like, it's about you, but it ain't about you.
Yep, it's been about them all their life.
Because of the ego, you know what I'm saying? Like, we go through life, all our life, figuring out what it is for me, what I want to do, what I like, this, that, next, and third, trying to find likeness of, trying to find yourself in other people, and you know what I'm saying? So we go through our life with all of this going on, and then throughout life, you have to know and understand and learn, like, it ain't about me? What you mean? You know what I'm saying? So it can, because I had that thought, like, I'm learning myself, but I also know it ain't about me. So it's like, where is that line drawn? You know, discernment. You gotta know when it's should be all about you and when it shouldn't, or when you can have certain pockets where it's like, okay, this I can do a little bit more me over here, but over here this ain't got nothing to do with just me. It's other people involved. It's other factors. It's other things that works with what I bring. So
we just gotta, I don't know, man. We gotta be careful with each other, y'all. We gotta be careful, man. We all fragile. At the end of the day, life, the world, society, it makes us fragile. You know what I mean? And it makes us fragile because it breaks us as kids. We get broke as kids now. Don't get it twisted. You get broke as a child. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't even necessarily know you're broke. Yeah. You don't realize it. Sometimes it's not that you're broken, but you're deprived and don't even know it. Because you don't know what you don't know until you get exposed to what you don't know. So sometimes you're not necessarily broken. It's just, damn, I didn't get to see this side of the coin. So now that I'm older and experiencing this side of the coin, I have no reference point and have no clue what to do, how to respond to it, none of that shit. You know what I mean? So we gotta be careful with each other, man. We gotta love each other, man. We gotta be willing to understand each other, y'all. We gotta be willing to understand each other. We gotta be willing to talk to each other. We gotta chill with the expectations of each other. Hold each other accountable. Because we gotta hold each other accountable to make sure we are being our best selves, to make sure that we are discerning situations properly and responding as our higher selves. We can't be shitty humans, y'all. God ain't make us to be shitty humans. God made us to be good humans to each other. You know what I mean? Even though God say nothing is good but God, technically ain't none of us good in God's eyes because we sinful. and we flawed. We got ego. We can't get over ourselves. We act brash and have insecurities. We're fragile. We're weak. You know what I mean? We're weak vessels in comparison to God. So we gotta understand and realize that because we all share that, we gotta be compassionate towards each other in that. Because she don't fight necessarily what I fight in most cases, but in some cases we fight in the same battle. I might be closer to the 12th round than her. I might have more fucking points on the board for my punches and jabs and shit, or just say basketball. I just might have more points on the board because I've been playing longer. I'm 4 years older than her. So I started my journey first, but that don't mean we not on the same path. You know what I mean? So in some cases where she's going, I can look at her and be like, yeah, I've been there. I got a very good idea what you're going through because I've been there. And people don't like to hear that sometimes because it gives you more room to gripe and complain and act in a bad way, to respond in a bad way. It gives you more of an excuse when you can make it seem like it's only me that feels like this and going through this. Once you realize other people going through it, for some people it kind of fuck them up because now it's like it ain't nobody's fault but yours, because you're not the only person going through this, but the people who that you know going through it, they not handling it the way you handling it. They going through the same thing you going through, but they're choosing better answers and they getting better results. Whereas you over here struggling and you feel some kind of way about it. So a lot of times people will psych themselves out and make it seem like I'm the only person. You don't know what it's like. Somebody knows what it's like, bro.
I wouldn't say better answers. I would say different answers.
I would say better in some cases. There is a right or wrong in some cases.
Yeah, for some, yeah. But
it's a right or
for
wrong.
the ones that's not, it's different because everybody's situation might be a little different. It might be similar, but it might be a little different. So what worked for them might not work for you, but whatever, you can find a way to use that same solution, like I said earlier.
Universal principles.
So,
we got to get to a point, society, we got to get to a point where we can be honest about what's right or wrong. We got to chill with this shit that I be seeing online where everybody acts like everybody's right. Everybody not always right. There has to be a right and a wrong. And morally, it has to be a right or a wrong. Otherwise, 47-year-old man can rape 6-year-olds and say, I'm not wrong for that. That's what I like. We have to have a right and a wrong. That's
a compass.
Thank you, because I was about to say roadmap. That's our roadmap. That's how we know when we're going too far. That's how we know what. You can't set a goal if you don't know what your goal is. How can I say, by next year, I want to earn $500,000 if I don't come to grips with myself in my mind and say, I want this dollar amount. You got to make the decision. You got to acknowledge it first in order for it to be a goal. So when it comes to right or wrong, we got to know what right is in order to know we're doing right. And we got to know what wrong is in order to know we're doing wrong. But if everybody out in this bit acting like ain't no such thing as right and wrong and everything everybody do is willy-nilly unless I don't like it, aka ego, we gonna be lost out here. And that's part of why we're lost out here. Because the people who are doing things wrong, and it's way more than white racist people and police, but that seems to be the one that a lot of people are starting to agree with a lot more, that, hey, that's wrong. But it's way more than that. It's a lot of people, including myself, who do wrong things sometimes. That's just a part of life. We can't run from that and try to protect our ego and pride so much that we can't accept, like, hey, man, I was wrong. We got to be able to, like, really just sit down and figure out, like, hey, man, what is really right? What is really wrong? Because I've seen people who have debates and shit online, and one person just adamantly believes they're right, and that's just they feel like they're right. But then I see the other person giving you facts, links, all this shit, proving like, no, that ain't what it is. That is this. And they're not really being an asshole about it. They just literally informing you. But I've seen that same person who was being told that, hey man, it's information you missing. Here you go, I'm trying to enlighten you. Their version, after they don't have any more rebuttals to say that the other person wrong, get what they do. Well, we both right. No, bro. sometimes there is no we're both right, bro. Sometimes you just didn't see something that somebody else saw. Don't cheat yourself out of learning something you need to learn by being so busy protecting your pride and ego and trying not to accept that, hey, yeah, I was wrong right here. It's okay to be wrong, bro. I mean, let me tell you something that you should know, and if you don't know, I'll tell you not. Being wrong is right. Because at the end of the day, for a lot of us, in the smaller aspects of things that we're wrong in, we'll never learn how to do it right until we go through the process of doing it wrong. You need that. It's just a part of life, man. But I am your host, Joe Henson, man.
I'm Briley.
This is Black Love, and this is Lane Shit Different Day, man. We thank y'all for tuning in, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. We could keep talking, but I need to go ahead and edit this. And we ain't trying to do a fucking 3-hour long podcast, even though I'm pretty sure we're going to have some episode that might go that long. But we weren't able to do one last week because I was also busy then. So I couldn't let 2 weeks go by. So I had to do this one, even though I'm tired as shit. But God got this shit, man. And we're going to enjoy the rest of our night. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of yours. You look like you got something to say.
Oh, I was just gonna speak on last weekend. Last weekend was dope. We got to perform Juneteenth Everyday. Go check our single out.
She do her promo shit.
Yes, follow us on social media at BLYKE_LOVE. All social media platforms. Check our single out, Juneteenth Everyday. Video out on YouTube, so go check that out as well. Download the single on our website. We will put all that information in the description. So just look down there. You'll click the link. You'll find it. We there. But we also had a dope weekend. So shout out to everybody that showed us love all week ever since the release of the video. Shout out to Crystal Gully and Duncan Penderhughes. Dorian. For basically getting us to perform for the event, and we really do appreciate it. And thank you to everybody.
Man.
Thank you to Courtney Wright for my waist beads. Thank you to Wade on It podcast for our other dope performance we did at that same day. Footage is also of that is on our Instagram page, so go check that out, and also go check them out as well. That's all I gotta say so far. If I forgot somebody, my bad. I love y'all.
Shout out to the homie T Smooth, man, for the great job you did on the video yesterday, bro. Thank you. Shout out to my homie Freddie Mac. Thank you. Shout out to Show. Thank you. Shout out to Chris Jenkins. Thank you. Y'all family. I love y'all. I enjoyed the conversation so much, so I had to bring a few tidbits from the conversation and put it in the podcast because I was trying to think like what I want to talk about. Or I was going to even ask you what you wanted to talk about, but you ain't say shit, so I just assumed you ain't really had nothing you wanted to talk about. And I was like, you know what? This shit called Lane Shit Different Day. Basically, we just going to talk about shit that's going on in our lives. You know what I mean? So that was something that took place today that I was like, yeah, I want to share this. Like, I think it's parts in this conversation that I think would be a dope, bigger conversation. Because me and my homies, we talk like that all the time. Like our homies, we talk like that. So eventually we're gonna have some of them come on, man, and be guests on the podcast, which I cannot wait to do. But today I just had to give y'all a little insight on the conversation we had. I ain't really going to depth like that, but it's certain things that I really wanted to touch on. And I'm glad we did that, man. So hopefully y'all got something from what we're saying. Feel free to share this. Please share this. Comment at the bottom, man. Let us know what you think, what you feel like we need to change or correct. We open to feedback. You dig what I'm saying? Y'all continue to be yourself, man. Love yourself and everyone else, man. And thank God.
And show appreciation.
Thank God.
Definitely.
Thank God. That's all I can say, man. Thank God. So, unless you got something else to say.
Yep. Thank y'all for all the views. Continue to watch. Thank y'all for watching our podcast. And continue to watch. We got more on the way on all aspects. I'm jive, y'all. I like doing stuff like that. But thank God, like he said, and we love y'all.
Peace.